We are here at the beamline APE that makes part of the CNR YOM beamlines at Elettra, and that is also part of the NFFA demonstrator that started a couple of years ago. So within the NFFA demonstrator, we are trying to grow the samples with different electronic properties to characterize them with advanced techniques offline, the techniques that don't take into account the synchrotron light, and then we further characterize them with the synchrotron light spectroscopies. Behind me is the chamber for the angle resolved photoemission, where we study the electronic bands of the materials that are grown both within NFFA and that are grown by our users that are coming from different parts of the world. This chamber, besides studying the electronic bands of the materials, is also equipped with an analyzer for studying the spin, which is one of the few such analyzers worldwide altogether. So this is the very first such instrument in Italy and one of the few that we have on the world level.
Here is a facility to prepare and characterize the samples in situ. In situ means that we are able to prepare the sample and then transfer the sample in the UHV tube for the before and after the spectroscopic measurement at the synchrotron beamline. So here users are able to clean the single crystal surface and also deposit thin epitaxial films on it, or can also make nanostructures on the surfaces. And then we are able to measure the structure and also the magnetic properties here. So here the one characteristic point is that also the STM scanning tunneling microscope is connected to this system. Usually the STM is very sensitive to the vibration because to see the atomic image. So usually the STM is isolated from all other instruments, but here, thanks to the special systems in the chamber to avoid the transfer of the vibration, we are able to measure first the atomically resolved image and then transfer it without exposing to the air to the synchrotron beamline to measure the spectroscopic data.
One of the research activities within the NFFA project involves the realization, the setup of a deposition system. This activity has been made in collaboration with another CNR's institute, in particular the SPIN Institute, which I belong, the Institute for Superconductors and Innovative Materials, and the University of Salerno. This will be one of the few examples in the world of deposition system directly connected to a beamline using synchrotron radiation. In case of single crystal, the surface property of the crystal can be restored by a suitable cleaving of the sample and heat treatment. But this approach cannot be pursued in the case of thin film on heterostructure. So in order to prevent the surface contamination or the surface degradation of the sample, the only possible strategy is to grow your film or your heterostructure and transfer it without breaking the vacuum condition within the analysis chamber. In particular, there are few examples of deposition systems directly connected to facility which provide advanced characterization by synchrotron radiation, and none of them are open for users. Otherwise, the NFFA project is the first example, will be the first example in the world that provide access not only for RPS characterization or photoemission characterization of the sample, but also to grow and the synthesis of materials in form of thin film or heterostructure. The specific technique that we have chosen for the deposition of thin film and the heterostructures is the PLD, or pulsed laser deposition, and this choice has been motivated by the fact that it's a very flexible technique. In the PLD, the film or the heterostructure is grown by ablating a target of material, which can be either a crystal or a polycrystalline sample. It doesn't really matter the form of thin film. So an intense laser pulse ablates the surface of this target, and this material just condenses on the substrate. After the deposition, the system, the film or the heterostructure is transferred in situ without breaking the vacuum condition to the other chamber analysis.
This new system that is composed by 3 chambers, 2 MBE chamber, one devoted to the growth of complex oxide and one devoted to the growth of metals, has been built up and assembled within the framework of the NFFA project. This system, which now is ready and operative since a few months, is able to prepare devices devoted to the spintronics, and in particular multi-layer in which we couple oxide and ferromagnetic metals. Together with this system that now is operative, we also run a clean room in the task laboratory, which we use to pattern the multi-layers that we grow in this experimental station. Once we have characterized the devices from an electrical point of view, the sample will finally be transferred to the APE high energy branch, in which we perform XMCD for the final characterization of their magnetic and electronic properties.
Let's try to describe APE under a computer science point of view. APE beamline, both high energy beamline and low energy beamline, are a set of heterogeneous instrumentation. We deal with a small instrumentation like this one, big instrumentation coming from companies producing electron analyzer and similar equipment, and control systems. The big deal is to make this instrumentation to talk together. And in the same way, we warrant that the users that are coming here to make measures are satisfied, and graphical user interfaces talking to instrumentation must be user-friendly.
One of the major challenges of the NFFA project is actually to collect and classify and make usable from outside people all the data that will be produced by researchers and by scientific instruments within the project. This is actually a quite challenging task, just because we have so much different sources of data, and such data are so different in terms of classification and characterization. We are getting data from some simulations, so there are long simulations that will run and will produce tons of data that should be matched together with data coming from scientific instrumentation like the APE beamline where we are, and then also we have also data coming from characterization and fabrication of nanomaterials. This is quite a complex situation, and for this reason it's really very important to classify correctly and to define correctly the metadata about the data we are acquiring. The metadata is actually data about data that will describe the data, and we have to be sure that this description is actually done in the right way. And so this is actually one of the main problems we are facing, the main problem that we have to solve in our activity on data management. For this reason, we are actually pretty sure that we will be successful, due to the fact that we have a quite qualified team of people spread all over Europe that will help us in this important task. And so the final idea here is actually that we will collect a lot of information coming from different sources, but at the end, through the tools that we will make available to our user, this information could be actually become real knowledge, just because all the data are there and we have the tools to browse, to search and to mine among this data and get the real knowledge and the real results.